Welcome to 5 Points Blues presentation of Back to the Basics. Everything you wanted to know about Cowboys football, but were too afraid to ask. Here are your hosts, Nikki Harrison and Kristi Scales.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Back to the Basics. Everything you wanted to know about Cowboys football, but were too afraid to ask. I'm Nikki Harrison here with Kristi Scales, and joining us today for the first time, the great Mickey Spagnola.
Make my debut on 5 Points Blue. All right.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, this will be fun.
Well, it is Super Bowl week. And I feel like Super Bowl week is always crazy. But today just so happens to be the anniversary of Super Bowl 30 when the Cowboys beat the Steelers 27-17.
That's right. And so we brought Mickey in to share some Super Bowl memories with the Cowboys and beyond. And we're also have some questions that people have sent us on Twitter or via email that we'll attempt to answer. And then we invite people to call in. Nikki will give the number here to call in. And if anyone wants to share their favorite Cowboys Super Bowl memories. So, Nikki, get us started.
All right. Well, give us a call, 214-872-2102. That's 214-872-2102. Okay, so I do have a quick question. I'm guessing that both of you covered Super Bowl 30, right?
Oh, yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I think each of us did all three Super Bowls in the 90s.
Yep.
Wow.
You know what I remember most about that? So, in the Cowboys travel department, lady name was Judy. She was Judy Martinez, as a matter of fact, and she put together a package to go to the Super Bowl for fans. All right, it was going to leave Saturday, day before the game, come back Monday morning. It was a charter flight, very efficient, very inexpensive, room, ticket, right? So I saw it and I was like, Judy, you still have room on that? She goes, oh, yeah. And so I told my wife, I said, so do you want to go? And she had gone to Atlanta. And she goes, well, I don't know. I went to Atlanta. She goes, maybe I'll just go next time. And I looked at her and I said, you never know if there's ever going to be a next time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right?
And
they went and had a great time. And they certainly never regretted it that they decided.
For sure. I'm glad
Good thing she went because it's been 23 years.
Yeah. Next time hasn't showed up yet.
That's right. My memory about Super Bowl 30 was travel related in terms of helicopter because the halftime show was Diana Ross.
Oh, wow.
And back then I was not on the sideline. I didn't move to the sideline until 1991. I started in 91, and from 91 through 98 was the booth producer, along with Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg, and before that Dale Hansen up in the booth. Well, the Super Bowl 30 was played in Tempe at Sun Devil Stadium, and the press box and the broadcast booth was so high in the air. Remember, Mick, how high Sun Devil Stadium was?
I can tell you how high it was because in 1978, I covered a college football game there.
Okay.
And the elevator wasn't put in yet.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So I can tell you how high because after the game, we had to walk all the way down on them ramps to get to the field to do post-game interviews.
Took forever.
Oh, my
goodness.
It was very high. Good thing I did that in my younger days.
Yeah.
For sure. That's when you needed a Fitbit.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a lot of steps, I'll guarantee you that.
So Diana Ross was the halftime performer, and so for Super Bowl 30, and the big finale was she climbed into, first of all, they brought in a helicopter and landed it on the field during her her second to last song. She gets on the helicopter and they kind of strap her in, and she's not hanging off the edge, but she's on the edge, the door of the helicopter. Her microphone is still hot, and she's singing her final song as the helicopter goes straight up to about press box level. That's how high we were, and then went off in the distance and faded off as her song finished. But it went up, and I remember being eye to eye with Diana Ross high above Super Bowl 30. And one other helicopter story, and this relates to favorite Super Bowl memory. Super Bowl 27, which was the 92 season, played in 1993. KVIL Radio was the home of the Cowboys at the time. I was the producer, and we had the KVI helicopter. Everything was yellow, and so it was the KVI helicopter traffic during the week. Okay. And Douglas, our producer, will remember this. But we would do pregame traffic reports, and we did a trivia contest, and if you won 2 hours before kickoff, we knew you couldn't make it to the game in time, so we would send a helicopter to pick you up and take you to Texas Stadium to go to the game that day. Well, the Cowboys made the Super Bowl, so we obviously needed to do our ride and style contest, which we did. We did it the Friday before the Super Bowl in Pasadena. You showed up for the Ron Chapman morning show to play this trivia contest. I did about 400 or 500 trivia questions because we were going to do a round-robin trivia contest. And if you won, you and your duffel bag left right after the morning show to fly on the KVI helicopter to Pasadena.
Oh, my goodness.
For Super Bowl 27. So, Mickey, if you...
How long was that trip?
So the first... They left on Friday morning and stopped in El Paso and spent the night.
I was going to say, did they get there by Sunday?
And finished the ride on Saturday and got to Pasadena on Saturday afternoon. And then, actually, they flew American Airlines home on Monday after the game. But, yeah, would you have done that, Nikki? Would you, for free tickets to the Super Bowl, Mickey
Absolutely,
and Nikki, would you have done it?
I don't like helicopters.
That's a no.
You would have not got me on there.
Douglas and Kent, would you have done it?
I'm pretty sure I would have.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
we
like
were young at the
helicopters,
time.
but I like Super Bowls more.
Douglas, Douglas has heard this story. So when we first got back from training camp, when the Star opened, and they were doing a media day kind of helicopter rides out there, and they were getting ready to do the last one, and Rich comes up to me, Dalrymple, and says, he goes, "Hey, there's room on that last one. You're going to go up on the helicopter, right?" And first of all, I don't like helicopters. Right. Second of all, it was no more than 5 weeks since we had the bus crash going to training camp.
Yeah.
And I looked at Rich and I go, Rich, I think I'll just keep my feet on the ground. With my track record, I'll just stay right
Sit
here.
this one out.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for the both of you. How has covering the Super Bowl changed over the years? Because it really does feel like a holiday almost. Has it always been this crazy, or has it just gotten crazier and bigger over the years?
Crazier and bigger, but I'll let Mickey address it.
Probably both, but I think only because there's more ways to cover it. There's more entities out there that kind of got their hand in it. It was always big. It was somewhat crazy, and I think crazy probably started happening mid to late 90s. The media day, which is tonight, by the way. It used to be on Tuesday when the two teams would first be available to interview. And it went from being a media day to basically, what should I call it? It ended up being entertainment day. Mm-hmm. And so all these other entertainment and stations and people were dressing up. Everybody wanted to find a way to put an act on to do it. Well, now it's even escalated over the 20-some years, even more so than that. But around 95 was when all the craziness started happening on Media Day. And it was like, okay, you understand what you're up against. Just roll with it.
Yeah, because kind of try to explain what that media frenzy is like, because it's not just sports outlets covering
hundreds of people.
There's entertainment tonight.
Absolutely. And so the commensurate
TV Azteca.
Yeah, seriously.
Yes.
Well, you're talking about in the mid 90s, but if you think about it, that's when we had more cable stations and more sports networks and the like come along, and then is over time more social media outlets. You know, when we did our first Super Bowl in the 90s with the Cowboys, you didn't have social media like you have now, and you didn't have as many sports networks or entertainment networks. So
or the internet.
Or internet. And so everything's so instantaneous. And the other thing is...
But you had FM stereo.
Oh, there you go. Well, we did for KVIL and Cowboys.
Not in my car.
Nobody else did, but we did. Mm-hmm.
So it's turned into an extravaganza, and finally over the years you learned going to the Super Bowls that Tuesday was not a day for serious football. So you just kind of rolled with it and tried to figure out, okay, how do I cover this without being serious? Because there's nothing serious going on here. Then the players started to understand, and they start bringing video cameras, and they're videoing, because they would put about I don't know, say 8 players on a podium. And then there was a main stage where the coach would speak, and then the quarterback, and then the other players would be on these podiums, and the rest of the guys would just mill around, or they put the coaches in the stands, and you'd go sit around a row and listen and things like that. It turned out. I mean, the first one we went to in '92, it was at Dodger Stadium, as a matter of fact, outdoors on the baseball field, out in the outfield, when the Cowboys first did theirs, which was kind of cool to get into Dodger Stadium. But after that, it ended up being an indoor deal, and it was showtime.
Yeah. Gotcha. Now, because I mean, even though, like you said, there's so much that becomes entertainment, how do the coaches and staff keep the players from getting distracted? Because they still want to win ball games.
And you're right. And so the first time it might have been a shock. After that, and after people had been, it's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. Just be prepared. Roll with it. It's going to be some nonsense, so don't get hung up. Like I could remember the one year the lady from TV Azteca showed up with a white wedding dress, mini dress.
What?
Mini dress.
Mini dress. All right. And basically in Tom Brady's interview, it was like, would you marry me?
Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me?
So that kind of epitomizes the craziness that took place. And so you just tell the players, you don't get upset. You never know what they're going to ask you. And then, NFL Network came along in the mid-2000s. And now they're going live, and so they're getting their microphone up there, and it's like they would dominate talking to some of the players, and you couldn't get a word in edgewise, right? So, and then all the radio stations started going. So, it was a serious. They should have called it Media Circus, not Media Day.
Yes, sounds like it. Right. Okay, I actually have a question from one of our viewers. Matt in McKinney asks, thank you, Matt, how much do players that play in the Super Bowl get for the Super Bowl?
Depends if you win or lose.
Depends if you win or lose. Lots.
So if you win, it's $118,000.
Okay.
And if you lose, it's $59,000.
Wow. I bet a lot of people didn't know
but that all adds up. Hang on, I have it.
Which, by the way,
I did a thing a couple weeks ago.
The $59,000 is $8,000 less than the winners of yesterday's Pro Bowl made.
Yeah. So
really?
How about that?
Wow.
That's right. Yeah. So for the Pro Bowl, the winners, so the AFC players got $67,000, and then the Cowboys that participated. Actually, you don't have to participate; you just need to be named a Pro Bowler.
Exactly.
I think if you have to pull out, then you get in the middle. Yeah, they actually get $34,000 for the losing team. So Zeke and Dak and Leighton, all the guys that
not a bad
played yesterday.
Gig.
But to go a little further on Matt's question.
Okay.
In the wild card round, the Cowboys and the division winners in the wild card round got $29,000 each, and the wild card entry teams, the one that qualified as wild card non-division winners, got $27,000 for that game. In the divisional round, every player on every team gets $29,000. Okay. The conference championship game is $54,000. Win or lose.
Wow.
So the Rams, the Saints, the Patriots, the Chiefs, all those players got paid $54,000 for the conference championship game. And again, if you win on Sunday, and this year, it goes up a couple $1,000s every year.
Oh.
And so it's $118,000 to the winning team this year, $59,000 to the losing team. If the Cowboys, who played in the wild card round and then the divisional round, they got $29,000 for the wild card round, $29,000 for the divisional round. If they had gone all the way and won the Super Bowl, then each Cowboy player would have received an additional $230,000 this year.
But see, Nick, what you need to understand is after the 17th week of the season, so you get paid 1/17 of your total salary.
Okay.
Each week. So for
during the regular season.
During the regular season. So the playoffs, you're not getting paid. A lot of these guys are taking a pay cut to play those games.
Yeah.
I'll share this with
They're
you
going
here.
to take a pay cut because if you've got like a $5 to $10 million base salary, you're losing money playing an extra game because you're making basically chicken feed.
Yeah, I wrote about this.
Basically, in relative terms.
Yeah, on 5 Points Blue, I wrote about this. So, for example, let's take DeMarcus Lawrence, who had the highest base salary this year. He was playing on the franchise tag of $17.1 million. Okay. So his weekly check, as Mickey said,
before taxes.
Before taxes for 17 weeks for the regular season, because there's 16 regular season games in the bye week. So he was making $1,008,411.70 per game. Okay, so just over $1 million per game for DeMarcus.
They can smell fresh cash.
There you go. But for the wild card round, he made $29,000.
Wow.
A pay cut of $970,000,
which is basically probably equivalent to a second-year player's base salary.
And the other thing is DeMarcus, Dak, Zeke. If Zeke had 30 touches in the game, guess what? He got paid the same $29,000 that Mike White, the inactive quarterback, got paid.
No.
Everybody gets paid the same. So this weekend, Tom Brady is getting paid the same amount of money to play in the Super Bowl as a guy, some rookie non-starter who's not even going to play.
Okay.
It's all the same.
Now, does that bother them? I mean,
if I were a player,
okay,
the next collective bargaining agreement, I mean, you're taking not only are you taking a massive pay cut, but the NFL and the individual teams are making more money off of you per postseason game than they're making off of you in a regular season game. So I'm taking a pay cut. Yet you're charging more for commercials.
Yeah.
You're charging more for the tickets. The beer is the same price. The nachos are the same price, and you're paying me less.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean,
it does bother them.
Well, I don't.
But you know what? They kind of put it in the back because winning is winning, and when you're a competitor, you probably don't think too much about it then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd drive you crazy.
I would think so. All right. Diane in Arlington, she asks, how does the Super Bowl choose its halftime performers? And who is your favorite Super Bowl show of all time? Mickey?
Well, it had to be Michael Jackson.
Oh,
Michael Jackson.
At the Super Bowl 27 in Pasadena.
Yeah.
That was pretty strong.
It was.
Is that your favorite too?
Actually, I do like it. But my favorite that I remember has to be Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce? Yeah. Oh,
I remember Michael Jackson, but it's like I was little.
Yeah, Beyonce.
What do you mean you were little?
I was little.
I love Beyonce. I was going to say my second favorite is Prince.
Yes.
And I loved Gaga. Gaga was great too.
Good. Gaga was
so
good.
Prince was one of the,
that was in Minneapolis.
No,
it was in Miami.
It was in Miami.
Oh, Miami because it rained.
Because I remember,
Minneapolis. That's
they did a
Minneapolis.
Kind of I think they did like the Thursday press conference, or they did a walkthrough for the performance. And me and my buddy were coming back, walking down the street from eating lunch, and we saw these big black limos, and they were pulled up right to like a back door to the convention center, right? Well, it was Prince, and they didn't want him to walk very far, so he opened the door and took like 3 steps and got in the limo, and we saw him walk out and get in the limo, and they whisked him away.
Seriously?
But he was really good.
He was good.
Oh, yeah.
Was that the one it rained?
Yeah,
Yes.
it rained, and he did
Purple Rain.
He did Purple
blink.
Rain.
Did not blink.
That was good. He didn't allow the rain to cause him to drop a touchdown pass in the Pro Bowl either.
Yeah, and to answer the
if you
question,
were watching.
to answer the question, that's something that the league works with the artists, but it's also in cooperation with sponsors, because like Pepsi, for example. So it's something that they work on all year.
They're having a harder time
to get them
signing groups now. Because before it used to be, ooh, this is big.
Right.
I can promote my stuff. Now it's like, I don't think they're paying me enough to make this appearance.
Hey, by the way, after
Nothing
9/11,
against Maroon.
wasn't it U2?
Is it
Maroon
Maroon
U2.
5 or whatever?
Yeah, Maroon 5. 9/11, the U2,
that was a pretty
U2
memorable
after
one.
9/11, that was a fantastic one. That was about 4 months after after the terror attacks. The other thing is, when I mentioned sponsor stuff, I'm not going to say who the artist is, because I don't want to give too much stuff away, but I know that one of the top selling and top ticket sales for concerts has never done the Super Bowl, because this particular artist is sponsored by a soda that is not Pepsi. And Pepsi sponsors the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So when you say, gosh, how come this person has never done the Super Bowl? Well, there are a lot of things that go into
and
it
that would be
business-wise. I'm not going to, and
We're not going to say
I won't say who it is.
Okay.
But hey, for fun, can you name the other Super Bowl halftime artists during the Cowboys 5 Super Bowl? So we mentioned Michael Jackson, and earlier I mentioned Diana Ross. Diana Ross was Super Bowl 30. Does anyone remember who was Super Bowl 28, which was the second of the 3 Super Bowls for the Cowboys in the 90s, and it was in Georgia at Atlanta in the Georgia Dome?
James Brown?
No, it wasn't, but it was it was country.
I have no idea.
It was country. It was the Judds and Travis Tritt and Tanya Tucker and Clint Black.
It should have been James
And then
Brown.
I also looked it up just because I knew we were going to be sharing Super Bowl memories, and the Super Bowls in the 70s get short shrift because for the Cowboys.
The Pointer Sisters.
Actually, it wasn't the very first one.
they
Super
played
Bowls
afterwards.
Yeah, they did. They did a
After-party.
Super Bowl party. But 1972, Super Bowl 6 is January 1972. So this is when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl after their 1971 season. The halftime show, and this was at Tulane Stadium in New Orleans because the Superdome had not been built yet. The halftime show was a salute to Louis Armstrong. And Ella Fitzgerald performed at halftime.
Oh, seriously?
Along with a person who just passed away last week, Carol Channing.
Wow.
And the greatness of Al Hirt. And I know there are some people saying, who is Al Hirt? That's Hirt, H-I-R-T. And he's a great trumpeter out of New Orleans, jazz and that. And then the U.S. Marine Corps drill team. And then the other Super Bowl that the Cowboys won, and this would have been after the 1977 season, so January 15th, 1978, also in New Orleans, but now the Superdome had been built. This is the first time a Superdome was played indoors. And it was halftime show From Paris to the Paris of America with Al Hirt, our favorite trumpeter, and Pete Fountain, who's one of the great clarinetists. He's a jazz clarinet guy. So and the Tyler Junior College Apache Bells.
Really?
So, but in the 70s, the halftimes were not what they, it was
today.
like Up With People
Or
and
the
all that
national
kind of
anthem, because they would bring in bands. And I remember one year, I want to say when it was in early years in New Orleans, it was like the Grambling or Southern University bands played, and might have even done halftime.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
Look
just
how
a
big
band.
it's got.
Yeah. There was
It's like, oh, you guys are close here? Yeah, just take a bus and we'll let you play.
Super Bowl 12 was a local girl from Northeast Louisiana University named Phyllis Kelly. Shout out, Phyllis.
That's amazing. I mean, because it has just quadrupled in size, basically.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I have one more question. Brittany from upstate New York. She says, this is a good question. When is the Super Bowl going to return to Arlington?
Well, not before 2025 because they've got them booked through 2024.
All right.
Yeah.
And so that would be the earliest. And then what happens is if somebody else builds like a new stadium, then they're going to get in the rotation right away.
Okay.
And so I think we have about built all the new stadiums they can at this point. Because the Rams will have theirs in a couple years.
Yeah, they're in 2022, so they're going to get Super Bowl 56.
Yeah, and then
Atlanta's getting theirs.
Atlanta
this year.
got theirs this year. This is their third, but they got it because they built a new stadium. So if you build a new stadium, they will give you a Super Bowl.
So this year, Atlanta Super Bowl 53. Next year is South Florida. So the home of the Dolphins,
because
Hard Rock Stadium.
They redid the stadium there, put almost a Wimbledon type roof on it to protect the fans because the last time they had it there it rained.
Correct.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And then the year after that, it's going to be in Tampa, Florida, at Raymond James Stadium, which is home of
which
the
I don't understand
Buccaneers.
that.
Yeah, and then
is that an outdoor?
That's outdoors,
and it's not new.
That's the one with the pirate ship in the end zone for the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
2022, as we mentioned earlier, the new Los Angeles Stadium, which is the home of the Rams and the Chargers now. And then 2023, it goes back to Arizona, to Glendale, Arizona. Super Bowl 57, and then New Orleans in 2024.
Where it should be every year.
Because it's just a great place.
It's
the
just
city's
yeah,
a great
you don't
place to host it.
There's no driving. The teams stay downtown. You don't have to take a half-hour bus ride to go to the Wednesday and Thursday morning press conferences. You walk to all the restaurants. You walk to all the hotels. It's
a great city.
It's just perfect.
Walk or stagger.
Well, which way you're going. If you're going out, you're walking. If you're coming back, you're staggering.
And the Cowboys won their first 2 Super Bowls in New Orleans, so it's always been a good luck place for one outdoors at Tulane Stadium and one indoors at the Superdome.
Cool.
So
very cool. So Patriots Rams on Sunday. Is this a good matchup? How you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun deal. A team that's been there before,
a lot,
against a team that's never been there before or hasn't been in since the 70s. So yeah, I think it'll be
St. Louis Rams don't count.
St. Louis, yeah.
Oh, the St. Louis
he's only
Rams.
counting
Sorry,
Los
I was thinking
Rams.
Los Angeles.
He's only counting Los
which
Angeles.
I don't ever. Did they make it as Los Angeles? Maybe they did once.
Vince Ferragamo.
Ferragamo, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a neat matchup. I think it's a, kind of. I'm not saying the Patriots are old school football, but it's a little bit more conventional compared to what we think the Rams are. But what the Rams are is they run the football, and one of the reasons why they are where they are right now, because regardless of, if you think they have this Star Wars offense, they run the football. Okay. And that's why they beat the Cowboys, right? 273 yards rushing. They're still gaining yards. Yeah. And the last time the Cowboys had played the Rams in a Super Bowl, in a playoff game, they ran right over the Cowboys.
Wow.
And it was the same story.
Same formula.
Eric Dickerson ran for 240-some yards against them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It'll be. I think it's a neat deal to see a team that hadn't been there since 2003, 2004, finally make it back.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Kristi?
The only Super Bowl that I've been to that I haven't covered as a member of Cowboys Radio was down in Houston in 2002, and it was the start of this Patriots run with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and they beat Jake Delhomme. The greatness of Jake Delhomme and the Carolina Panthers. But that game is more remembered for something that happened at halftime.
Okay, what happened?
The performer was Janet Jackson.
Oh,
and she was joined on stage by Justin Timberlake, and we had the little wardrobe malfunction. But I'll tell you, so the overflow media, the press box can't fit all the media people. So the overflow media is like in the upper corner of an end zone, like the top 300 or 400 level, whatever, the corner. And so halftime had just ended, and I was sitting not on the aisle, but the next seat in, and the guy next to me was with the Arizona Cardinals. He was a PR assistant, and he was there helping out. And so he comes, the third quarter is about to begin, and I'm like, dude, you just missed the streaker that ran onto the field. He's like, what streaker? They didn't show it on TV. I'm like, no, they don't show it. But a guy, they're slow kicking off. He's like, well, I don't know what happened at halftime, but everything is in a tizzy down with the NFL and in the press box. Something happened during the halftime show. I'm like, what happened? And I didn't know until the next day about Janet Jackson.
Serious?
Well, you're in the upper level. And
there was no Instagram or Twitter.
Yeah.
No.
And so anyway, so that's what I remember about that. But that actually changed broadcast history.
Yeah, it did.
Because of the huge fine that was levied, in which CBS TV, which had it at the time, appealed. But I worked for a radio station, KVIL, and then K-Love, which were part of the CBS family. And we didn't even guess if it was James Taylor or, whatever great artists we had. We no longer could do anything live because they were so scared of getting fined for what had happened with Janet Jackson, and everyone was walking the straight and narrow because the FCC was, threatening all this stuff. And so anyway, but I think I'm going to go with the Patriots this weekend. Because, the Rams, I don't know, maybe still a little stuck on what happened in the divisional round, and I'd kind of like Belichick and Brady. I know they're like they're the emperor and the Darth Vader of the NFL, but just to kind of flick away these young kids and show them how it's really done.
Who do you have, Nick?
Well, I'm kind of with Kristi on this. I'll go with the Patriots just because I've been unsuccessful going against them.
So is a lot of other people, too. Teams and money.
Douglas, who do you and Kent have in there?
Well, Ken has his headphones on. But no, earlier I went with the Rams. I want Wade Phillips to get another ring.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the one reason to vote for to go with the Rams, because there aren't any former Cowboys players that are participating this weekend. There's no former player or coach with of the Cowboys that's with the Patriots now, and then you have the Wade Phillips tie-in and the Skip Pete tie-in.
That's right.
Who's the running backs coach?
So was the question, who do you want to win or who's going to
Yeah,
win?
make your pick.
I combined it.
And who did
I'm
you
not
say
going
you're
against. I'm not going against the Patriots. Just the way I said it in the game at Kansas City. There's no way. I learned my lesson a long time ago picking against them. So
That's right.
if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think the percentages are with me, or
like
at least
you
past
said,
percentages, right?
A couple weeks ago, what they have done is so remarkable. Belichick and Tom Brady. I mean,
Yeah, each of them have been to 9 Super Bowls.
Yeah, they have. But the rest of that team, there's a lot of guys that hadn't been to a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
pick the Rams.
Maybe one or two, right? One or two of them.
Hey, as long as he's throwing to Julian Edelman and Gronk, you know, so
Wow. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. And, of course, the commercials.
sure.
No, I love that.
Yeah, that's fun. That's the thing, though. You can never take a break from the Super Bowl
Nope.
because sometimes the commercials are just as entertaining. as the game
Absolutely.
itself.
Absolutely.
So do you sit home and watch it, or do you go to a party or throw a party?
I sit home and watch it. Sometimes we've had a party, but I prefer to not, because then you really can't sit and watch it because you're entertaining your guests.
Yeah, where I'm having the Cowboys radio crew over.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, and what happens is Brad and Babe and I, by the middle of the third quarter, we kind of end up calling the game, even though the Cowboys aren't playing. So it's kind of funny.
It was kind of hard for me to break down and go to a party. I think I had gone to every Super Bowl from 1988
Seriously,
season
Nikki?
till the one at AT&T Stadium. That was the last one I've gone to.
Really?
And so after that, it was like, okay, I can't just go to a party. I got to watch it, right? Even if I have to sit there by myself and watch it, right? I'll do that. And then I had a friend that they were having a party at the restaurant, and it's like, no. And they go, oh, no, come on, we want you to be there, you know. And I said, okay, there's where the big screen is. There's where that table is. I want that seat right there, right? And I want the volume on. Okay. And then I had a friend sit next to me so no one would distract me.
There you go.
And
Nikki, just take the game, and then you can go back and watch it later.
This might have been
That's what I
before
do.
DVR was really, really important, right? And so I did, and so then it was okay, but
It's not the same.
I'm not good at a party like that. Yeah, they'll just think,
Well,
oh,
'cause you
that
get
guy's
distracted.
he's a stick in the mud, you know.
Give him
not
red
paying
wine,
attention
he'll be
to
good at a
anybody.
party.
Yeah,
And get off my lawn.
so maybe I'll break down and go to a party this year.
That'll be fun. Well, Mickey, we're out of time.
Already.
I tell you, this show flies by, especially when we're having good chat and good stuff to talk about. We thank you for joining
Sure,
us.
it was
so
fun.
much.
This
Anytime,
can't be
let
the
me know.
last time. Promise.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well,
Me and a microphone? Come on.
Well, thank you again, and thank
Okay.
you for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on 5 Points Blue.
This has been a production of 5 Points Blue, DallasCowboys.com, and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?